Speaker coordinator, I think, can you please introduce our guest, our speaker for this evening?
Thank you, Dr. Asahan. I just give a brief CV of P.P. Ong Hock Siew. He is a multi-talented man, one of the most talented men that we have seen. He is a former senior banker. I think he has moved on. He's also an author of 6 books, and currently he's consultants to various companies, including the Percaya Group. And he is a very active sportsman. He is our ex-Sabah table tennis champion, and he's the one that I already know that climbed Mount Kinabalu the most time of the people I know. So far, I think he has climbed 68 times. There are more to come. And P.P. Ong was in Rotary Club of Kota Kinabalu for many years. And he is a past president of Rotary Club of Bandar Utama. And he has 3 daughters and 8 grandchildren. That's already something. P.P. Ong, I pass it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you see my screen? You can see.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Okay, I've chosen this topic. Actually, I speak on this topic quite a bit nowadays, overcoming extreme difficulty. It's a privilege to be here. I'll give you my reason for sharing. I'll try and do it all in 20 minutes. But it's great to see so many old friends in Likas Bay. I think too many to mention. And but it's good to see 2 Interact members who have come through and now are Rotarians. I'm so happy to see this. Okay, I chose this issue because it's a subject that's often avoided. In fact, it should not be avoided because all of us will have to go through situations where we will have difficulties. So I want to go into this and talk about it a little bit. Okay, just a little bit of my family. I'm blessed. I've got 3 daughters, and from them have come 8 grandchildren. I've got a wonderful wife, and the family is really very good going forward. So we are very blessed. Now, I just say that disaster can strike at any time. And that is the problem. Sometimes when we are not ready for it, when extreme difficulties come, we are suddenly caught, and the consequences can be very bad. There are 3 reasons that I always use to explain why we can overcome extreme difficulties in disasters. I've got my fair share of disasters because of the life I lead, and I've managed to overcome most of them. By God's grace, I've managed to overcome. First reason is love. Love is always the key to really our overcoming difficulties. I'll never forget the time when my granddaughter, I took 3 generations of my family to climb Kinabalu. She was only 5 years old and she did not want to walk anymore coming down. So I had to take her on my back and carry it, and I was really tired. I myself was having difficulties. But when I look at her and love filled my heart, that difficulty became much better. So love is always one of the strongest factors for us to overcome difficulties. Then there was a second experience I had. I love riding. I used to have many super bikes. I rode in, I was foolish enough to ride in my BMW 1200 GS into our Rotary project in Orang Asli at the Thai border, 7 hours by car. And I followed the rest of the Rotarians on my bike. Coming out, it was raining heavily. The road was really bad. I slipped, fell, and then my leg got stuck on the exhaust pipe. The wound burned through. I can see my bone. And most of the Rotarians thought that this one was a real emergency. But I told them I can go on. I was in excruciating pain. I had to ride 7 hours with an exposed wound back to jail. And I'll give you reasons why we can go the extra mile when real difficulties hit us. Okay. And then of course, the next one is I was one of the early pioneers of whitewater rafting in Sabah. During those days, when we pioneered Padas and some of these rivers, especially when rain heavily, times that we should not go, I went. And there was one time where the raft overturned and was thrown. I was on a rock, and everybody was downriver, all over the river. And I had to go to them because they were inexperienced. And I had to jump in because we brought one shot or one life jacket shot. So I was without a life jacket. And with the raging water, like what you see, I had to jump in to go to them. And I knew that there was half a chance that I not make it. And I jumped in, and it's amazing. That experience that tells me that sometimes we can really do far beyond and exceeding what is actually with us. But one of the worst times was when I crossed a river in Sabah, took off my shoes, incurred a scratch, and 4 days later, it started to swell. You know, look at the picture on the left, it became black color. I went to the specialist doctor, and he told me, you have to be admitted. I say, okay, I come in tomorrow. He says, no, we are going to operate now. If not, your leg will be amputated. And I learned, a precious lesson there. So the whole thing was infected by bacteria. I was lucky. If it had been the leptospirosis, the rat's urine, I would have died. And so I got it operated, and then the recovery was really tough. And I'll come to how we can overcome such situations. So the key is, can we really practice for such difficulties? You cannot. But the mental preparation is really fantastic. If we understand that and we keep that at the back of our minds, when we encounter such real difficulties, we will be able to overcome it. I share with you this experience, and then I go on as to how Rotarians can help people in such situations to really overcome the difficulties. Climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, I climbed Mount Kinabalu 68 times. Mount Kilimanjaro was really a dream. It's the highest freestanding mountain in the world. By itself, it's a freestanding mountain, and it's the highest in Africa. It's 19,000 feet. So it was a dream. I signed up for it. I paid for it. I did a climb that was really well covered. So I paid about 30,000 to climb. So the dream became a reality. After months of, we all were ready to go, but I had a huge problem. It was a real dilemma. I foolishly climbed Mount Kinabalu 1 week before Kilimanjaro. During the Mount Kinabalu, actually there's foolishness. Sometimes people like me, we think that we can push the limits too much. I would encourage us never to push the limits. I actually had a fall, injured my knee. My knee was very swollen, and I had 2 huge blisters at the back of my heel, and my two toenails were black and coming out. And here I was about to climb Kilimanjaro. When I reached Arusha, the last port of call before we start walking, I could hardly walk. And the 8 other climbers told me, Hock Siew, don't be so stubborn. I think you should just stay in a hotel. It's a nice hotel, and wait for us to come back. You see, but then before I left, I have an eldest grandson who's 23 years old now. At that point in time, he was about 13 years old. He told me, he says, Kong Kong, he says, I know you will definitely reach the top, and then you come back. He says, I know you'll never give up on setting your mind on the goals. His words rang in my mind. And even though I was very painful, I couldn't even wear the shoes, the climbing shoes properly. I had to press it down at the back. And I made the climb the first day. I was hobbling. My 8 other climbing friends told me, Hock Siew, don't be so stubborn, turn back. I went through the first day. They treated my wounds, and it was really bad. They say you can't and all that, but it's all about the state of mind. I just want to share with you all, if we have something to look forward to, that's why people who are desperately ill, people who are in terrible condition, people who have lost hope for what they are about to encounter. If we can plant in them that reason, that's whatever reason it is to go through, we can actually stretch our endurance to extreme limits. It's all about the mind. But on the 4th day in Kilimanjaro, we have to climb this, it's called the Barranco Wall. You look at the wall, it's 500 feet straight up. The night as I slept, you know, in the tent, you open the tent and you look, oh, you know, that's the wall. As I slept, I kept looking at the wall, no? And I was thinking, this is it. My both legs are swollen and painful and I cannot walk. My knee was hurting me and I had to climb a 500 feet wall. The more I saw the wall, I look at the wall, the worse it becomes. So don't look at the problem. Teach those who are in extreme difficulties and suffering not to look at the circumstance which they are in. We have to divert their mind out. So what I did was I shut the window of my tent and I told myself, it's okay. I will worry about it tomorrow. I say, then I remember the words of my grandson. Says, Kung Kung, I know you will never give up. And I decided, I made the decision then that I would climb the Barranco Wall. So next day I climbed it. And then after what seemed like ages, on the 6th day, it's a 8-day climb altogether. On the 6th day, I reached a place called Elizabeth Point. It was 1,000 feet more to the highest point called Uhuru Peak. But this is the Elizabeth Point walk. The peak is not very steep, the last part, but it's very tough because you can't breathe. Lack of oxygen. So I tell you, every step I take, the porter and the guides were really looking at me with pity. Every step I took, I was going like, ayo, you know, ooh, ayo, because the blister was very, very bad. It was really raw. But I decided to focus, to really have a reason to go on. My reason was I must reach the peak. And now looking back, I can tell you, even now I forgot the pain for part of that last journey to Uhuru Peak. And this is very precious as a lesson to me. And what seemed like ages, this is the peak of Kilimanjaro, Uhuru Peak. You know, as I stood there, my tears just started flowing, And I realized that in our lives, there can be no escape from difficulties and suffering, because that is an integral part of life. But when now we are prepared, our minds are prepared for it, when we can look at it with eyes of understanding and we can really look for a reason to go on. That reason to go on is very, very, very strong. It's one of the best motivations of all for anybody who is badly suffering. And I want to just close off what I share on this. This is the next half. I finished 10 minutes. I've got 10 more minutes to go. You know, in my life, I do a lot of work with younger people, especially those who are really badly off. What I mean by that is terminally ill. This girl called Serene, you know, she had cancer at the age of 19 years old. And she told me she has never ever led the life of a young person. You know, I like to make friends with such people. Actually, she was brought to my office. The doctors gave her 6 months to live. But because of a very strong attitude, when I met her, she was 28 years old. She had gone through almost 10 years of an existence that the doctor said she would not live through. And in the last 8 months of her life, you know, she came to my office, the mother brought her, the mother knew that I was working with young people. And then so all I did was the mother left me with her for a while and I said, Serene, I don't know, you know, the journey ahead of you. I say, uncle is quite old at that point. This was not so long ago. I say, uncle is already 60 over years old. Can I become your really good friend. Become your really good friend means you have to accept me. And she said, yes, sir. So I started visiting her every week. I want to say this to Rotarians. If we are really having a sincere heart to walk alongside the lives of young, hurting people, we can make a difference to them in their lives. You know, I brought her so much joy. You see, this picture I took, you know, you can see there's a sparkle on her face. And then when she was admitted to hospital to shorten her intestine, she cut out 14 inches of her intestines. Immediately, I visited her right after her operation, you know, through her semi-conscious state. Say, uncle, you know, you are seeing me now better. I've got now a more efficient, you know, digestion system because my system now goes through 14 inches shorter process. You know, she was that kind of a girl. And then I joked with her, I laughed with her. We had some great times together, you know. And she got better for the good part of the months that she was, you know, interacting with me. And I promised her that I'll take her whitewater rafting. Of course, I never got to do that because 7 months later, her condition worsened, you know, and then I decided that I should video her and get her to tell a life story to encourage other young people. So one day I told her, I say, Serena, I'm coming to video you. She said, sure. I went there, I videoed her. And some of the words she said, I still remember. Says, don't waste time with your life. Make every minute count. You know, the best thing we can do is to now become someone who can help another person. I never forget that. Someone who was in such a, you know, poor state of health, saying that we should reach out and touch another life and help another life. You know, and I videoed her and there were many words there. The video went round and actually it helped. I posted it on Facebook and all that. And it really helped quite a lot of people who were in such a state of mind. Then when I finished the video, I knew she was very near the end. Then we talked and then she looked at me and says, Uncle, these last few months that you have been with me, it has really been a very meaningful time for me. You have made that difference in my life. Fellow Rotarians, what reward can be better than such a reward? What reward can be better than when somebody is in such a state tells you, you have made a difference in my life? And then she looked at me and says, Uncle Ong, her house, actually they come from a very, very rich family. It has upstairs and downstairs. She said, Uncle Ong, can you please carry me up to her room? She was only 30 over kilos. You know, and I said, sure. I carried her up to her room and I put her on the bed. You know, there were tears in my eyes. She says, Uncle Ong, don't feel sad. Don't feel sad. He says, the fact that you have made a difference in my life is enough for me. Think of me and remember me as that happy girl who has help on her side, not this sick, you know, girl. And then I put her down. You know, I couldn't stop crying. Then as I held her hand one more time, I said, Serene, take care. And then as I walked out, I looked at her one last time. I knew that would be the last time I will see her in her life. You know, 5 days later, she passed away. You know, I remember her words. All the crying that I had to do had already been done. At her funeral, you know, I thought this is a final release from all the suffering. She's going to a place where there's no more suffering, no more pain. And I was happy for her. And then as I walk out from the funeral service, and as I look around me, and as I look at the world that is hurting so much, I know that every one of us can make that difference to someone else. And I made it a pursuit of my life. And Serene is not the only one. I've gone on to help so many others in such a situation. The investment of time is not easy, especially for those of us who are busy. But my fellow Rotarians, I just want to say this to y'all. You know, that's the call of Rotary in our lives. I joined Rotary not because, you know, of course I wanted the fellowship and the good times of enjoyment and having a great time. But I also joined Rotary because I knew that we can be all instruments, a bridge to those who are lost in their hopelessness, a bridge to bless them and to become someone who is meaningful for them as they walk through that tough journey in their lives. I'm now working with another cancer patient in stage 4. And now the encouragement is very important. The key is to make them have that reason to go on. This latest cancer patient is my niece. You know, last week, she told her husband, I want to commit suicide. So we were there, we shared with them and we prayed with them, and you know, we gave them a reason to go on. And when we left, her whole demeanor changed. And that is what Rotary should also be. And I encourage all of you, my friends, to actually be such an instrument. You know, if you look hard enough and you offer yourself hard enough, like this Serene, I offered to her mother that I will help her. And I kept my word. And the reward of having helped her far exceeds many of the other things that money and materialism can give me. Those things become less important as I can make a difference in the life of somebody like that. That, my fellow Rotarians, is what Rotary is all about to me too. Thank you for giving me this time. I'm exactly 20 minutes. So God bless all of you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
One question. What do you mean by a freestanding mountain?
Okay, freestanding mountain, like Mount Kinabalu is a freestanding mountain too. That means it stands by itself. It's not part of a big range of mountains.
Oh, I thought Mount Kinabalu is in
Crocker Range.
Crocker Range.
Yeah, but because it is not like the Karakoram or the Himalayas, it is still considered a freestanding mountain. You look at Mount Kinabalu, it stands up on its own. Other, similar height mountains around it.
Mm.
So Kilimanjaro is the highest in the world when you look at freestanding mountains.
Any other questions you would like to ask our speaker, PP Ong? If not, IPP areas would like to give, would like to
Thanks.
like to say a word of thanks.
Thank you, PP Ong, for such insightful and inspiring talk. I think a lot of us are touched by it. So when I knew of that PP Ong is going to give us a talk to our club, I immediately registered this opportunity to convey the vote of thanks to our speaker, to PP Lu. Okay, so what I want to say that is that thanks to PP Ong. Okay, I personally would like to say a big thank you. Okay, well, put it simply, I wouldn't be here today in RCLB Likas Bay if it's not for due to PP Ong. go back to 1993, okay, when I was a late teenager and I was a vice president of an Interact Club of SM LaSalle. Well, during all this time, we have joint clubs, interactive club with other activities. Well, I must say that I'm honored to have been led and guided by one very dynamic Mr. Ong Hock Siew, who is a Rotarian from other school for looking after the school. He's a banker, Sabah State ping pong player, and then who can play jazz drum and guitar, and of course with super bikers and all this. I was well inspired to be as cool as PP Ong, and who was a very humble, a very good leader who leads by example and guide to all the teenagers of the Interact clubs and all this. Of course, he was as we seen just now, he's a very dynamic person, very good enabler, and he is also a very inspiring and very good speaker. So of course, there's also Kampung Koko, we went climb mountains and all this Kotong Royong fundraising, all this. Okay, went through with the Interact Club things. So as a late teen, I did say to myself, when I grow up, okay, which I finally did 8 years ago, okay,
8 years ago.
I want to be a cool and inspiring Rotarian like Mr. Ong. I'm still trying to emulate PP Ong, okay, and still a long way to go. Well, as for my journey from Interactor to IPP journey, okay, there will be another session. So again, thank you, PP Ong, and as usual, as in our usual manner, show our appreciation to our speaker, PP Ong Hock Siew.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just add a bit, something wrong with my video, but anyway, I remember you all call him Pipi Ong. I only remember him as Brother Ong. Yeah, he is the one, last time when we were young adults, and he's the one who bring out the adventurous spirit in us, you know. So the first time I went to whitewater rafting was with him. He brought a group of us, and it was in Kulu, you know. That was my first experience of whitewater rafting. And we didn't even use a raft. I don't know whether Brother Ong remember.
Yes.
Yeah, it was with Ricky, they all, and so forth,
Yeah.
like quite a big group. And we didn't even use a raft. We used a tractor tire or something, you know.
Yeah.
We just tied it up together and just raft. And then I remember halfway through the ropes come off, and we were everywhere, all over the river. And that was very adventurous, lah. But of course, we were all safe, lah, you know. Then after that, the addiction of whitewater rafting came in. Then we went for Padas River for whitewater rafting. Padas River, like every week we are out for whitewater rafting. You know, those times lah, you know. So he's very inspiring lah. Things that you think cannot do, but with him everything can, you know. And I remember also when he started the Coco Hill, I think he just saw the Coco Hill. They were starting there. I think there I remember he just brought us to there, and then we say camp overnight, the whole big group of us. You know, camping overnight lah, do with whatever we have. And so that was my experience of camping, you know, rough it out and so forth lah. So we learned to rough it out, and we learned to, you know, to say can do, you know, when you're with Brother Ong, like I always call him, it's only can do, you know, there's nothing that cannot be done one. Right or not, Brother Ong?
Yeah.
When which church? When this young adult thing? Which church?
This is in SIV Likas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Gwen.
Yeah, but good to see you, Brother Ong. Good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, good to see you too, Gwen, and all the others.
Yeah.
And you know, PDG and Victor and all the rest of you. Yeah, Francis especially. I'm so happy, and Datoli.
Yeah.
But
Glad
the two interactors are fantastic.
I was an interactor also. Yeah.
Yeah, Leslie and Arias.
Okay, Dr. Aswan.
Okay, it's now comes to the end of the meeting. I think if there's anything else you want to ask PP Ong, we have a fellowship after adjourning the meeting. Fellow Rotarians, please join me in a toast to Rotary International.
Rotary the world.
Rotary the world.